So there are the big six, I like to call them, the big six chemicals to avoid. So the first one is paraffin, or petroleum, petrolatum it's called, or petroleum. And this is basically derived from crude oil, so it's petrol, it's like crude oil. And what happens with petroleum or paraffin, and this is great because this is what you're going to see in Vaseline, it's what you're going to see in Sudocreme, aqueous cream. What happens is it lies like a layer of grease on the skin. And so I want you to imagine that you've put your marigolds on, your washing up gloves or surgical gloves on, and you've been wearing them all day. And what happens is when you take them out, your hands are going to be like wrinkly and pruny, and there's going to be loads of sweat in those gloves. And that's because your skin hasn't been able to breathe properly. Well, that's what's happening underneath the paraffin. So eczema can be caused by paraffin because the skin can't breathe. But what happens over a long period of time is the skin gives up. So I know, for me, that I'm obsessed with lip balm. I've always got a lip balm, usually tucked somewhere on my being, and it's, of course, clean and organic. But I have to have a lip balm because I spent years doing the thing, with Vaseline, and what happened was my skin on my lips lost the ability to make their own moisture. So paraffin is a biggie to start changing. And let me tell you, I've given up a lot of things. I've given up sugar, I've given up, soft drinks, I've given up wheat, I give up dairy. Giving up Vaseline has been the hardest detox I've ever done. Okay, so the second one, let me just go through my pieces of paper. I'm showing you these because I want you to be able to see the spellings, and I hope you'll notice, as a mumpreneur, I have no stationery cupboard, I have my daughter's felt tip pens. So we have propylene glycol. So propylene glycol can also be labelled as PEG or PPG. And this again is a petrochemical derivative, and it's used as an emulsifier to make the sort of creamy consistency and make sure that the products bind together in creams and things. And this causes allergies and eczema and is also linked to respiratory issues. So it's not particularly nice. Sodium lauryl sulfate, it's also called sodium laureth sulfate. Now this is an industrial degreaser. Nice. It's often widely known to be responsible for dermatitis and inflammation. It's often referred to in pseudo-natural claims, so companies that say, well, we use the one from coconuts. Okay, that's just a way of trying to say we use sodium lauryl sulfate, whichever way you look at it. It's an industrial degreaser, and what happens is it strips the skin, and the skin then can't function. It's highly toxic, so I really recommend that you avoid it at all costs. The biggie, parabens. So parabens are chemical preservatives, and they're used to extend the life of products. Now, parabens are not just in toiletries, they're in everything. They're in your flat pack furniture, they're probably in, sheets and bedding and all sorts of stuff. In fact, you can often notice a sort of a parabeny smell. And in fact, IKEA they actually made the statement that they're going to be removing parabens from their entire range as of, I can't remember what year, but it was either last year or it's happening right now, which is really exciting, actually. Now, this is the one to watch out for because a lot of companies have caught on to the fact that parabens are the watchword, and so let's get rid of parabens. But what they've still got is some of the other big six. So they're just catching on to the watchword thing. So these are, to extend the life of a product, and they're in a range of chemicals who are actually called endocrine disruptor chemicals. So, thinking back to the thyroid and the adrenals, do we really want a chemical that is going to disrupt our endocrines? No, you don't. I can honestly tell you that my bread and butter in my clinic and the bread and butter of my amazing team in their clinics is rebalancing people's endocrines. Parabens cause allergic reactions and skin rashes. They're also estrogenic, they're probably one of the ones that's brought down the age of puberty in young girls. And whether or not we know that they're part of the cause, the truth is that parabens are found in all breast cancer tumours. It's very interesting, as if a woman is diagnosed with breast cancer, almost straight away she's told to avoid products with parabens. So they've also been linked to fertility problems, genital birth defects in children, and early onset puberty, as I've mentioned. So parabens, as I said, have had very bad press, and so a lot of companies are removing them, but just make sure that they're actually very ethical and they're also removing the other parts of the big six. But a lot of companies will say, we use natural parabens, we use the ones from blueberries. Only a company using parabens say they're using the natural ones. They're not. They are the same as the ones in blueberries, but they're not from blueberries. They're just the same that you find in blueberries. So number 5 is parfum, which kind of sounds French and, a bit cool, but actually it's an umbrella term for up to 200 different chemicals to make a smell. So when you see the word parfum, think chemical firestorm. Now, an ethical company, there will be a little asterisk end of the M, and it will say something like derived from essential oils. So if you've got a company that is saying they're organic, but there's parfum, there'll be an asterisk and it'll say derived from essential oils. That's a really good one to look out for. And the last one is phthalates, PTH, phthalates. So these are plasticizers, so these basically make hairspray and nail varnish, and these are highly carcinogenic, and they've also been linked to increased stillbirths and children being born with extra ribs. For more information, there is a book. It's by the campaign's founder, an amazing woman called Stacey Malkan, and the book is called Not Just a Pretty Face, and I really, really recommend it. And you'll be wanting to go and buy them, organic this and, natural that and all these kind of things. So if you are selling products that have chemicals in them, there are other places to go. If you're a beauty therapist, I really recommend you find a product range that doesn't have a big buy-in, that you can actually use, that doesn't have the chemicals, because also it's not just about your clients, you get the exposure. And, if you might not be that bothered, and that's okay. But you might get clients asking you questions. So thank you very much for listening. And if you've got any questions, then please get in touch, www.balancedwellness.co.uk, or on Facebook, we're Balanced Wellness UK. Thank you.